Hello, my name is Billy from Recirculating Farms, and I'm going to be covering a follow-up video to our 3-bin compost system. Like we talked about in our previous video, the 3-bin compost system is an easy way to sort of see the three different time frames of the compost. So you have your fresh here, that you input all of your kitchen scraps and your yard scraps into the left bin. The middle one is called fractional. So once your carbons and nitrogens, your greens and browns have been sitting a while, you mix this pile up, and then what should be underneath is a fractional, should be bits maybe of eggshell. Your food should be a little bit recognizable, but not all the way digested. That's what's in the middle pile. In the third pile is our finished compost. So you should not see any particles of food. You shouldn't be able to recognize any items specifically, and it should just be a dark, rich, humus-like soil. Your finished compost should be airy enough and moist enough to where it can hold its shape if you squeeze it together, but then loose enough that it will fall apart in your hand. When you're turning your piles, it doesn't necessarily go from 1, 2 to 3. I find that when I'm turning the piles, it's easier to put the fractional into finished first. So I would turn this over, I would maybe take off the top layer that isn't finished and take what's underneath, and then flip it to the finished pile. And then once I'm done with that, then I would start to take apart the fresh pile. I would take everything out from up top and then take the stuff that's a little more digested at the bottom and turn it over to the fractional. So for us, our process goes from 2 to 3 and then 1 to 2. And that will make it a little easier to get your compost, because if you do fresh to fractional at first, you're gonna have all your unfinished pieces on top, and it's going to be harder to distinguish, and it's going to be harder to know what to put into your finished pile. So we do 2 to 3 and 1 to 2. So as a reminder, for your first pile, you're going to put things like your food scraps from your kitchen. Those are your nitrogens. You can also put in paper towels that have food products on them. You want to avoid oils or food that's been highly processed or cooked or has a lot of salt and spices. You want to avoid meats as well. And for your browns, for your carbons, you want to put anything in between leaf litter, mulch. You can even put hair. If you cut your hair, you put hair in it because that's a carbon. You could put old trees. You can put moss and any limbs of branches, and that's gonna give you you need 2 to 1 carbon to nitrogen, so you need double the browns to the greens. And then if you have a thermometer, you can check if your pile is getting hot. You want it to be 110 to 150 degrees ideally. And then as you keep turning it, you'll notice the pile just gets littler and littler as it breaks down into its most simple components. So I'm adding some figs here from our kids class. I'm going to make sure all the food is covered by carbons, and we're going to let it sit until we turn it again. And to view how to create this 3-bin process, you can check out our previous video in our playlist. And for other farming tips and how-tos, make sure to check out our YouTube channel as well. Thank you.